"Daddy, that car's been there since yesterday." He looked up from his lukewarm coffee, heart pausing mid-beat. What his daughter said was the kind of thing that made undercover cops either heroes or corpses. The parking lot across from their modest townhouse in East Atlanta was nearly empty except for a dusty green Toyota Corolla with Florida plates. To a civilian, nothing special. But to Darius Cole, who'd spent 14 years as an undercover narcotics officer infiltrating gangs and corrupt police units, patterns spoke louder than words. That car had no business being there. Not 2 days in a row. Not in this neighborhood. Not idling. And sure as hell not when he was on the verge of testifying against one of the most powerful white officers in Atlanta's North District. He stood up slowly, careful not to let the curtains sway too much. "You sure was there yesterday, baby girl?" His daughter nodded. Her name was Lyric, and she was sharper than any adult Darius knew. He used to joke that if she ever chose crime, the FBI wouldn't stand a chance. She had her mama's quiet intensity and his instincts. Right now, those instincts were screaming through her cocoa-colored eyes. I saw it when I was riding my scooter. A man inside was eating chicken nuggets and watching our house. Today, it's a woman. Blonde. Darius's jaw tightened. He'd trained Lyric to observe, not just look. And blonde meant one of two things: either Atlanta PD's intelligence unit was tailing him illegally, or someone with deeper pockets and less patience had decided to break the rules. He crouched beside her, putting a finger to his lips. "No more talking about the car, okay? Not at school. Not even Annie Nay. We play dumb. Like we always do." Lyric nodded once, eyes steady. She was 10 and already knew the code of silence that kept black families alive in neighborhoods like theirs. By noon, Darius had mapped out 3 exit strategies, texted a burner number he hadn't used in 4 years, and started pulling cash from hidden spots in the house. Not because he was running, but because he wasn't sure who he was fighting, yet the cartel he'd infiltrated last summer, the corrupt narc he was preparing to testify against next week, or something even more dangerous. Her, Talia Monroe, his fiancée, corporate attorney, born and raised in Buckhead, white, Ivy League sharp. She was supposed to be in Charlotte for a conference, but her toothbrush was still wet that morning, and her scent, that soft vanilla and citrus perfume she always wore, clung to his hoodie, even though she hadn't worn it in days. It didn't add up. He opened her laptop while Lyric did math homework in the kitchen. Password was changed. The last call on her phone had been to Denton. No last name, no area code, but the message underneath, it made his stomach flip. Target confirmed. He suspects nothing. He closed the phone slowly, trembling. His hands never shook, not even when a barrel pressed against his ribs in a warehouse filled with bricks of fentanyl. But now they did. "Daddy." Lyric's voice came from a hallway. "Why are you crying?" He wasn't aware that he was. He blinked the tears back and turned toward her, masking his face. "Just tired, baby. Grown-up stuff. Go pack your sleepover bag for Annie Nace." "Okay." She studied him like a chessboard. "You said we weren't doing sleepovers till next month." "I know. I changed my mind." "Something's wrong," she said deadpan. "Yeah," he whispered. "Something's real wrong." By nightfall, Lyric was safely tucked away at his sister's house, watching cartoons and pretending she didn't know how close her world was to collapsing. Darius circled back to the townhouse, hood low, gate calm, heart thunderous. The Corolla was gone, but now there was a different car. Black Suburban, government plates, unmarked. Inside, the house smelled too clean, like bleach and betrayal. Talia sat on the couch, sipping wine like nothing had shifted. "Back from the grocery store?" she asked without turning around. He stared at her. "Who's Denton?" Her smile was surgical. "What kind of question is that?" "The kind I only ask once." She didn't blink. "You went through my phone. I went through her life. And it doesn't add up anymore." She stood, wine glass still in hand. Denton's a security consultant for the firm. He's helping me. Protect you. Protect me? Or track me? She hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. He stepped forward. You think I can't smell a tail, Talia? You think I don't know when my house is being watched, when my calls are pinged, when a woman I'm going to marry suddenly gets quiet the week I testify against Atlanta PD's golden boy? She set her glass down with exaggerated care. You're paranoid, Darius. I'm alive. That's the difference. And that's when she did blink. Fast. Once. Twice. The only time he'd ever seen her nervous was when she met Lyric. Everything else in her life, contracts, juries, negotiations, she could handle like breathing. Denton is helping me monitor chatter from people who want you dead. You think the cops are going to protect you after what you're doing? They're going to bury you. I don't need your help, he said through clenched teeth. I needed your trust. Then his burner phone buzzed. Unknown number. No voice. Just a video. He played it. It was Lyric. On a playground. Today. Alone. A woman in a hoodie stood watching from a bench, blonde, face barely visible. He looked up at Talia. Her face didn't move, but her eyes gave her away. You sold me out, he said, the words dry and empty. You used her. I told Denon she was off limits. I swear to God, Talia. You swear a lot of things, Darius. But your past doesn't disappear just because you put a badge on it. That's when the door shattered inward. 3 men. Tactical gear. Not cops. Not even pretending. One had a silenced pistol. One had a tranquilizer gun. The third held zip ties. Darius moved like a shadow. Pulled the Glock from beneath the coffee table. Fired twice. 2 men dropped. Third, one hit the wall, groaning. Talia screamed. She wasn't supposed to scream. He turned, gun raised. She was gone. Through the back. Just like a ghost. The house was chaos. Blood on the floor. A laptop fried. A USB stick missing. And in his chest, a truth heavier than anything he'd ever worn as a wire. She'd never loved him. Maybe she never loved anyone. Just causes. Just power. Just the perfect mask. But she made one mistake. She underestimated Lyric. That night, Darius drove through Atlanta's storm-slick streets with one goal to get his daughter back and burn every inch of the network that had come for them. He didn't care if it was the cartel. He didn't care if it was the cops. He didn't even care if it cost him his life. He was a father first. Everything else could burn. Atlanta at night had 2 faces. One was the neon-drenched lie sold in music videos, bright lights, endless parties, money everywhere. The other was the one Darius drove through now broken street lamps, closed liquor stores, cracked concrete, and whispers of things better left unsaid. He drove without headlights, engine low, mind cold. The Glock rested on the passenger seat beside a burner phone and a half-burned photo of Talia from happier times. He didn't need it anymore. The woman in that photo never existed. He pulled into a rundown service station near Candler Road, one of the few places left where someone owed him a favor. The kind of favor paid not with money, but with blood not yet spilled. An old man emerged from the garage, wiping his hands on a rag. Damn, son. Ain't seen you since that business with G-Boy's cousin. You still alive? Barely, Darius said. I need eyes. A plate tracked. Fast. Who's the target? A blonde snake. The man chuckled, then pointed to the office behind the garage. Let me fire up the toys. 15 minutes later, they had it. The green Toyota Corolla had been rented under a shell corporation tied to a federal contractor called Bly Logistics, same name Darius remembered from a dirty file years ago, back when he was still working a joint task force. Bly was supposedly handling private surveillance contract for the city. But behind that front was a team that didn't answer to anyone ex-CIA, ex-military, ex-human. Their job? Cleanups. Targets. Political neutralization. Darius stared at the printed file, heat rising in his chest. Bly wasn't just watching him. They had been assigned him. By whom, though? The cartel? The cops? No. The signature on the requisition order was hidden behind layers of legalese and dummy companies. But the last name that appeared under the approval chain froze his breath. Monroe. Talia hadn't just turned on him. She bought the knife, signed the contract, and aimed it at his child. The man across from him whistled low. You're in deep. Deeper than usual. What's the play, D? I need to find a guy named Denton. Military. Worse. Thinks he's untouchable. I want his name, face car, mother's address, shoe size, everything. I can get it, but it's going to cost. I got a cop's pension and nothing left to lose. The old man raised an eyebrow. Then you better win. It took 2 hours, a trip to a hacker indicator, and 3 untraceable calls. But by sunrise, Darius had a new location. A secure apartment off Cheshire Bridge Road, one of Bly's known dead drops. And Lyric's school called. She wasn't there. He slammed the phone shut and barely kept from throwing it through the windshield. Panic would get him killed. Precision would save her. He parked 6 blocks from the location, changed into a delivery uniform he kept in the trunk, and walked with a box of fake pastries toward the building. 2 cameras, one at the front, one masked as a parking meter. He smiled at both. The door buzzed open with a spoof code from an old Bly employee's badge ID, another gift from his hacker friend. 3rd floor, Unit 3B. He knocked once. Silence. Knocked again. A voice answered, muffled. Delivery. Yep. The door cracked. That was all he needed. He shoved it open with his shoulder, catching the man behind it in the chest. Denton. Blonde. Crew cut. Tan polo. Combat boots. The type who wore murder like cologne. They fought without words. Fist to ribs. Elbow to throat. Denton was good trained. But Darius was better. Angrier. And he fought for more than ego. The fight ended when Darius slammed the man's head into the edge of a counter, once, twice, until he stopped twitching. He tied him to a chair. Then he woke him up with a splash of water in the back of his hand. Where's my daughter? Darius asked. Blood trickled from Denton's nose. She's safe. For now. That ends now. She's leverage. You talk, she walks. That's the deal. I don't do deals with cowards who hide behind children. Denton smirked. You picked the wrong woman, Cole. She's smarter than you. Always was. Then she should have killed me, Darius said, jamming the butt of the Glock into Denton's shoulder. The scream echoed through the small apartment. She's meeting with her buyers tomorrow night, Denton spat. She's trading your files. All of them. Everything you dug up on narcotics, gang connections, internal corruption. They'll erase you from history. And my daughter? She was insurance. They were going to keep her until the deal's done. Where? Denton smiled. You'll never get to her in time. But Darius already had. He planted a second burner on Lyric last week, in her favorite hoodie. Just in case. He dialed the code. A blinking dot appeared on his screen. East Point, a warehouse near the rail yard. His fingers tightened on the phone. He glanced back at Denton. No more deals, he said, then pulled the trigger. The warehouse was quiet. Too quiet. Darius parked half a mile away and moved on foot, slipping through shadows like smoke. The GPS said Lyric was still here, her hoodie was still transmitting. But the closer he got, the colder the air became. The door was open, cracked. Inside a folding chair. Ropes. A tablet on a table. Still playing a video. Lyric. Recorded earlier that day. She wasn't here anymore. He cursed. On the tablet was a note. You're smart, Darius. But I'm always one step ahead. Meet me alone at the courthouse steps tomorrow night. Midnight. No tricks. Or she disappears forever. He stared at it until his hand stopped shaking. He had 12 hours. 12 hours to tear down a woman who knew everything about him, every weakness, every trigger, every ghost. And then something clicked in his mind. The courthouse. Why there? It wasn't just symbolic. It was legal. Talia wasn't just running a betrayal. She was staging a final performance. A full confession. A frame job. He looked again at the video. Lyric was talking to someone off-screen. Not crying. Not afraid. That meant she still believed in something. Maybe even him. But what Darius saw, and Talia didn't, was a detail she couldn't control. A reflection. In the back of the metal filing cabinet behind Lyric, clear as glass, was the emblem of a familiar mural. He recognized it. It wasn't the courthouse. It was a storage unit near Memorial Drive. He bolted. If Talia wanted him to walk into a courthouse at midnight and be arrested or killed, he'd flip the script. He'd come for his daughter now. He'd end his way. The sun dipped behind Atlanta's skyline, casting long orange shadows across the asphalt as Darius drove like a man possessed. Memorial Drive blurred past him. He didn't stop for lights, didn't flinch at sirens in the distance. Lyric was alive, and he knew where she was. That was all that mattered. The mural reflected in the filing cabinet a bold piece with 3 faces of black freedom fighters sat right behind a storage unit Darius had used once during an old sting. It had been off the books, like most of the best work. That made it perfect for someone trying to stay off radar. Perfect for someone like Talia. He skidded the car to a halt behind the complex, jumped the chain-link fence, and crouched low. Every sense sharpened. No guards. No lights, but the unit's number 17B had a faint blue glow spilling from beneath the door. He approached slow, gun raised, heart thudding like a drum. Lyric, he whispered. No answer. He touched the door unlocked. Strange. Pushed it open. Inside, silence. A cot in the corner. A cooler of water. Half-eaten crackers. A tiny pink hoodie on the floor. But no Lyric. His eyes scanned the room. Something was wrong. There a blinking red light above. He looked up just in time to hear the voice through a speaker. Nice try, Darius. Talia's voice. His fists clenched. You really think I didn't notice that second tracker? Cute. Very dad of the year. But we're not playing hide and seek anymore. We're playing war. Where is she? He growled, stepping into the room, staring at the speaker. She's safe. For now. But you just threw away the last deal I was willing to make. I'm not here for deals. I'm here to end this. She laughed cold, joyless. That's the difference between us. You want endings. I build beginnings. A loud click echoed. Then boom. An explosion behind him. Not fire flashbang. Designed to blind and deafen. He dropped to the floor, covered his head, heart pounding. Men rushed in. 3. Armed. Darius rolled, grabbed the Glock from his ankle holster, and fired without seeing. One man went down. The others shouted and fired back, but too late. Darius was already moving, already behind the shelves. They underestimated him. Everyone always did. He took the second down with a knee to the jaw and a hard slam against the wall. The third bolted cowards always did, leaving behind a phone still connected to Talia. He picked it up. You're losing, he said into the speaker, breathing hard. No, she said. I'm just setting the stage. Then the call cut. Darius stood there, surrounded by blood and noise and shadows, and for the first time, he didn't feel like a cop. He felt like a father fighting hell with his bare hands. He searched the downed men's pockets. One had a receipt. Hotel Claremont, room 505. And that's when it hit him. The courthouse wasn't the real stage. The press was. Hotel Claremont had a rooftop lounge known for hosting influencer events, media mixers, and more importantly, political backdoor dealings. She was going public. She wasn't just trying to kill him. She was going to erase him. In front of cameras. He'd be labeled corrupt, violent, unhinged. They'd show doctored footage, play calls out of context, maybe even frame him for kidnapping Lyric himself. She was going to bury him alive and smile while doing it. Not tonight. He arrived at Hotel Claremont just before 10 p.m. The rooftop was glittering under string lights. People mingled, laughed, held cocktails. No one noticed the man with a hoodie pulled low, eyes full of storm. He slipped in through the service elevator, climbed to the 5th floor. Room 505. Unlocked. He stepped in, gun raised. Empty until a voice said, "Close the door." Talia stood by the window, silhouetted against the city lights. She wore all black. Hair up. No makeup. No rings. No soul. Darius didn't move. Where is she? She's fine. Watching cartoons. Drinking apple juice. I swear to God. I'm not going to hurt her, Darius. She's innocent. This isn't about her. Then why drag her into it? Because she's the only thing you love more than your badge. He stepped closer. She didn't flinch. You were the one good thing I let into my life, he said quietly. And you used it. I believed in you, she said, until I realized you weren't going to change anything. You wanted justice in a system designed to kill people like us. You thought one man could fight the machine. I still do. Then you're a fool. She walked to a suitcase near the bed, opened it. Inside hard drives, flash drives, documents. Files Darius had collected over a decade. I'm trading all this, she said, to fund a new kind of revolution. You mean war. Call it what you want. But it'll survive without you. Darius stepped forward. Where's Lyric, Talia? Silence. He raised the gun. She looked him dead in the eye. You wouldn't. For her, I would. Then she smirked and reached into her coat. Fast. Too fast. He fired. One shot. Right shoulder. She screamed, dropped to the floor, clutching her arm. The suitcase flipped. Papers flew. He stood over her, furious, shaking. I didn't want this, he said, voice breaking. I wanted a life. A family. You wanted peace in a war zone, she hissed. And you want a revolution that eats children. He pulled out his phone, dialed the hidden tracker again. A second dot blinked. Just 2 blocks away. A delivery van. He turned without another word and ran. The van was parked behind a closed diner. He broke the window with the butt of his gun and climbed inside. And there she was. Lyric. Asleep. Untouched. Alive. His knees buckled. He touched her shoulder gently. Baby girl. She stirred, blinked. Daddy. I got you. She hugged him tight. I knew you'd come. He pulled her into his arms, heart breaking and healing all at once. Always, he whispered. Always. By sunrise, Talia was in custody. The files were seized. And the press? They had a different story to run. Undercover cop saves daughter, uncovers corruption ring tied to elite law firms and private contractors. It made headlines. But none of that mattered to Darius. What mattered was the little girl sleeping in the crook of his arm that night, safe at last. They moved away from Atlanta, changed names, built a new life somewhere with quiet skies and honest people. But sometimes, just sometimes, Lyric would look out the window and say, Daddy, that car's been there since yesterday. And Darius would smile softly, because they both knew the war wasn't over, but they'd won this battle. Together. 6 months passed. The world kept spinning. Headlines faded. People moved on. But Darius Cole didn't. He lived under a new name, now Marcus Reed, in a quiet town on the outskirts of Asheville, North Carolina. A small house near the woods. Fresh air. No sirens. No stings. No shadows, or at least not the kind that came with silencers and burner phones. Lyric went to a charter school. She liked her teacher. She hated math, but loved a bait club. Some nights, she still had nightmares. But most mornings, she woke up with her arms wrapped around the stuffed panda she never let go of during the Atlanta days. Its fur was dirty, its eyes scratched, but it had survived. Just like her, Darius took up carpentry, fixed roofs, mended fences, woke at 5, slept at 9. Sometimes, when no one was around, he'd walk into the woods and scream just to remember he still had a voice. But peace was not the same as closure. And he knew that, because Talia Monroe hadn't spoken a word since her arrest. Not to the FBI, not to the press, not even to her own lawyers. She sat in a federal holding cell awaiting trial, silent and still as a statue. Not a tear, not a word, just that same cold smile she wore when she told him, "I build beginnings." She was building something. Darius could feel it. So he prepared. He spent hours each night reading her old cases, following paper trails through encrypted documents, using the skills that had once made him Atlanta's most effective deep-cover operative. And one day he found it, a shell account buried beneath 5 layers of financial fog tied to a nonprofit based in Prague. Its name, Sons of the Silent Order, a private foundation, but not for charity, for recruitment. He cross-checked the names of the donors, and one chilled his blood. Gregory L. Harmon, Chief of Police, North District, Atlanta PD. The same man Darius had built his testimony against. The same man whose empire of payoffs, kickbacks, and narcotics partnerships was supposed to fall the moment Darius stepped into court. But the trial had been quietly delayed, then buried, then vanished from the court calendar entirely. No media coverage, no outrage, just silence. He called his old friend at the DOJ, a whistleblower contact who owed him more than one favor. "They're suppressing it," the man said. "Someone up top, beyond local, maybe federal." "You think she cut a deal?" Darius asked. "No, she scared them. That's worse." That night, Darius sat in front of the fireplace, Lyric asleep upstairs, and stared at the man he'd become in the reflection of the glass. Talia hadn't just betrayed him. She had exposed a rot deeper than either of them knew. And it was still out there. He had a choice: disappear completely, start over again, give Lyric the normal life she deserved, or do the one thing he'd sworn he'd never do again: put on the wire. 2 weeks later, he was in Washington, D.C., walking into a secure DOJ building under escort. His beard was shaved. His ID was fake. His clearance was top-level courtesy of the files Talia didn't get her hands on. And, waiting in a conference room, a group of stone-faced men in suits. One woman, older, stern. She didn't blink as he entered. "You said you had proof of internal sabotage involving federal contractors, private intel firms, and a sitting police chief." "I have more than proof," he said. He pulled out a drive, laid it flat on the table. "Everything I've got. Names, accounts, locations, conversations. It's all there." They looked skeptical until he played the first audio file. Talia's voice, in perfect clarity. "You don't dismantle the system from the outside, Darius. You become the system. Then you flip the circuit breaker." The woman across the table leaned forward. "How did you get this?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Another man, younger, asked, "What do you want in return?" Darius smiled, but it wasn't a happy one. "I want full immunity, witness protection, new IDs, for me and my daughter. Done. And I want to testify, publicly, on the record." That made them all glance at each other. The woman nodded slowly. "You understand what that means?" "I've been buried before," he said. "I'm not dying in silence." The trial of United States versus Gregory Harmon was one of the most watched cases of the decade. Federal court, cameras everywhere. And in the center of it, on the witness stand, sat Darius Cole under oath, under fire, unbroken. He laid it bare. Every deal, every threat, every dollar trace from cartel hands into police lockers, then funneled into offshore accounts, into Talia's firm, into nonprofit shells like Sons of the Silent Order. And at the heart of it, the plan to use Lyric as leverage to silence the one man who knew the truth. The courtroom held its breath until the prosecutor asked, "Mr. Cole, why did you come forward now?" He looked at the jury, at the cameras, at the world. "Because I was taught that silence keeps us safe. But that's a lie. Silence protects the guilty. It buries the truth. And it almost cost me my daughter." He paused. "I won't be silent anymore." Talia never testified. She remained locked in a psychiatric facility after being declared mentally unfit for trial. Some said she broke. Others said she was faking. No one knew for sure. But she never spoke another word. Not even when Harmon was sentenced to life in federal prison. Not even when her name was stripped from every legal building she helped fund. Not even when Lyric, now 11, published a short essay in a national magazine titled, "The Car That Stayed Too Long." In it, she wrote, "When I pointed at the car, I didn't know I was pointing at the start of something dangerous. But my dad always said the truth doesn't knock. It waits, and it kicks the door down." 3 years passed. Darius and Lyric now lived in Oregon. Different names, different lives, but they were stronger. She played piano. He coached Little League. Some nights, they'd walk by the lake and talk about dreams instead of fears. And once a year, on the anniversary of the day, she noticed the strange car parked across their old townhouse. They shared a quiet tradition. He'd ask her, "What do you see?" And she'd always smile, point at something random, a dog, a bench, a tree, and say, "That doesn't belong here." It was their way of remembering, of staying sharp, of never forgetting that peace is something you protect, not something you're given. And as long as Darius drew breath, that peace, her peace, would never be taken again. Because he was more than a father. He was her shield, and she was his reason. The system failed, but they didn't. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.